Whoa. Whoa.
Is there a world he cannot go very close in this race?
Marine and Sean Flanagan. Hello and welcome along to the Let's Talk Racing YouTube channel for what is going to be a Cheltenham Trials review, Dublin Racing Festival preview extravaganza. We didn't have a video last week because Andrew was up in Scotland filming with work, This Racing Life. Looking forward to seeing that this week. But we've got an episode to talk about everything, really. This week, this period of racing is just unbelievable, isn't it?
It's fantastic. It's almost the best time of the year, I find. A couple of weeks where you're just kind of looking at Saturday, Sunday racing. You're getting excited looking at everything. It obviously does give us clues towards March, but it's just brilliant racing in its own right. Trials Day was excellent. Dublin Racing Festival, arguably one of the best weekends of the year, especially for a jumps fan. It must be in the top three. I'm looking forward to getting back over there and really getting stuck in.
It's going to be so good. But first, we need to say a massive, massive thank you to you, Let's Talk Racing viewers. We've hit 20,000 subscribers, mate. 20,000 people. What a milestone that is. 10,000 felt a long time ago. But we're finally here at 20,000. And I just want to say a big thank you. We've got some amazing opportunities from this, but mainly I've had amazing fun and met some brilliant people that have watched the videos on race courses or out and about, and no, it feels very rewarding having hit that big number.
It does. It was a surreal moment, I must say. It doesn't feel like it was ever going to happen, sort of thing. Like, especially when we started it off a few years ago, during lockdown periods, we were just chatting away and thinking of, what can we do to almost keep ourselves entertained, and the fact that it's come to this. I still remember in that second or third video I was talking about Brian Cooper having a swing at Paul Townend for latest exhibition in Monkfish, and here we are a number of years later. I've moved countries, you've moved houses. It's a serious game.
It is a serious game, and a lot has changed. But a big thank you. All of your likes, comments, subscriber clicks has kind of helped us massively, and we just want to say a big thank you. And to hit 20,000 is extremely rewarding and knows that we're doing something right. So if you were to like this video, it would massively help us hopefully hit 30,000 down the line. So thank you very, very much. But before we do that, we do want to just give a final big push for Cheltenham Festival tickets, and that is because it's the best week of the year. You can get your tickets down below. Go and get some merch as well at the Cheltenham shop. But before we talk about Cheltenham tickets and the Cheltenham Trials Day, we do have two Cheltenham previews to announce. We've got one on Wednesday the 5th. Is it Wednesday the 5th?
I believe it is the 5th.
Wednesday the 5th up in Middlesbrough, actually, near Middlesbrough, and then one in Birmingham, Solihull on the 6th. So back-to-back preview evenings. All the information will be down below. We hope to see you there, but they'll all be down in the first pin comment, and we'll also be talking about those in a bit more detail next week. So hopefully as many of you can come along to that. I think we're going to be joined by some good guests on all of them, so it sounds pretty good.
Yeah, fantastic. Looking forward to get back to Birmingham and Middlesbrough. A new one for us, but fantastic. Week before Cheltenham, going to Middlesbrough, going to Birmingham. It's a tour. It's
going to be a Let's Talk Racing Cheltenham preview tour. Anyway, we do have a couple of horses to touch on from the previous week because we missed them. Lulamber, what do we think?
Very impressive. Obviously, an awful lot of hype going into the race. Was already favoured for the Triumph Hurdle going into it, and it's one of those where it's very hard to be that impressive given how much talk is about the horse. Couldn't have done it much better, though.
Couldn't have done it much better. It's just fascinating.
They just know when they have a good horse, Henderson. And I must say, considering how, for his standards especially, it was an ordinary year last year. Things didn't go right. Horses were unwell at Cheltenham. He had non-runners. Geez, he's going to have some squad of horses going into the festival this year. I know some people are even mooting about him, maybe even being the champion trainer at the festival. Not sure whether it would be that good, but he's got 5 or 6 real chances.
I'm going to skip a little bit on to the Triumph Trial where East India Doc was very impressive beating Stencil. I'm only going to skip to him for this one section because it feels right.
Of course.
With Lulamber and East India Doc, with what they've done so far, let's say they were both 2-1 for a Triumph Hurdle, where would your money go?
I think probably at the moment it would go to East India Doc. He was really impressive at November. I went into Saturday kind of thinking there's no way this almost can go right, because Lulamba's come out being so impressive. I kind of wasn't sure whether he could be anywhere near as impressive as he was at November, but he backed it up. He beat a decent enough yardstick in Stencil. There's plenty of the French racing experts think is a fair horse, maybe a horse for the Boodles in time.
I mean, they finished a million miles away from everything else.
Exactly, and I was just impressed the way he extended after the last. Look, they're two really smart horses. They look to hold the eggs. Like we're going to talk about, obviously, the big juvenile race at the Dublin Racing Festival, but something will have to be fierce good to come out of that to shake up these two. I have these two well clear at the moment.
Last season, and you referenced it in a recent podcast, you said, well, Burdett Road would be going into the Triumph if he hadn't bumped into Sergino on Trials Day with this unblemished record. I think loads of people would be with him, and he was knocked out the way by Nicky Henderson's Juvenile. Do you think if Lulamba were to run in that, say, race on Saturday, that could have been the case? Or is East India Dock a different proposition as a juvenile than Burdett Road?
I think East India Dock's certainly a more tractable horse. He jumps better than Burdett Road did last year. He races a bit more economically. So I think he's probably maybe the more furnished option than that horse. But no, you wouldn't know. Lulamba could have beaten him 5 lengths. It could have been very similar to what Sergino did to Burdett Road. But I suppose at the moment you don't know that, and you've got one horse that's ran around the track twice, won impressively twice. You've one horse that's won really impressively at Ascot. It's a serious race. It's not a race I'll be getting overly stuck into, especially at this time. But probably East India Dock just about holds it from a form perspective and maybe a course experience perspective, maybe just the edge for me.
Talk to me about John Bon.
Incredibly impressive, yeah. Arguably his best performance. Like, he just seems to be getting better and better this year. We were very, very snippy after the Cheltenham chase. I'm still not sure whether he's in love with Cheltenham. I think he runs to 170 plus at the likes of Sandown and Ascot. I think he runs to maybe mid 160s at Cheltenham. Whether that be good enough to win the race, it probably will this year, if I'm being honest. This is his year. I think the only way at this stage I can see him potentially getting beaten if it turns up heavy, because it just maybe brings in the likes of a Gaelic Warrior. But very hard to see past him at the moment.
Yeah.
So what's your thoughts on John Bon? Obviously a horse we were snippy about at the start of the year, and he's just been a hard horse for us to warm to. I've no idea why that is.
I think they've trained him differently. I think I think this season more than anything, I think last year he proved to Nicky that he's a top horse. I think there were still doubts, the fact that he was still quite hot in the prelims of some races, and they needed to be, he possibly needed to be a bit more ready, because his behaviour might take a couple of percentages off. I've been so impressed with him since that run in the November meeting in the Schlur. I wasn't that impressed with him there. I thought he should have been beating those horses much better, but he clearly wasn't 100% revved up, and he's just improved with every run. I think Energumene ran really well, but he just put him aside. He's a seriously good horse, and Nico de Boinville, I think, has been the making of him.
Yes.
I think when Aidan Coleman was on him, he was clearly a horse with lots of ability, but I'm not sure Aidan Coleman necessarily had the confidence to ride him like you need to. He didn't particularly, and they were finding out about him, don't get me wrong, but you need to really let him go and attack fences and go forward, and because he's got stamina. He's won a Melling Chase over 2.5 miles, but over 2 miles you need to let him bowl along, and Nico just gets him jumping, and he's been so impressive.
He is. I think you make a very good point just about tactics. Like, I think even last year, I think they were potentially riding him at times for speed, when actually he's just relentless over 2 miles. Like they've mentioned before about 2.5, even 3 miles about him, so they know he stays. It's just a case of actually at 2 miles, just put them to the sword.
He's going to win the Champion Chase. Full circle. But I think if he turns up in the same form he did the other day, I don't think you have to be 100% John Bon to beat what he's going to have to beat.
No, probably not. And I agree in terms of, I think he's the most likely winner of the Champion Chase. I won't be parting with my hard earns at even money, though.
Okay, fair enough. Now let's fire through some horses. I suppose we need to start earlier on in the week. One of your favourite horses, mate, Sandor Clegane, was beaten again.
Yes.
How are we going to assess him? I saw on Twitter you put him up. Are you going to let go? Because at some point you're going to have to, mate. Because
it's an issue.
well,
it's an issue.
I can't imagine you've made much money backing him over the years.
Not recently, anyway.
And if you actually look at his record, he's only won 3 races. He won a bumper, a maiden hurdle, and an auction hurdle. The last win came in April 2023. We're now almost in February 2025.
It's hard to know what to do with him, though, because the only thing I'd say about this season is that he's got a rating, I think, over hurdles of 143, and he's kind of just running to that rating.
Get him in the Potemps.
Yeah, but he's a little bit soft. I'm not sure he likes big fields. His jumping's pretty decent, but I'm afraid, unfortunately, the last 2 runs have just been awfully disappointing with his finishing effort. He cantered into the Leopardstown race. You're getting really excited and found nothing. And then even the other day, they tried to get him to hit the line hard by holding him up. Came there at 2 out. You're thinking again, we've got a right chance there. He's kind of put his head in the air, to be honest. I don't want to. It's like,
I only ask because obviously he's a fan favourite now.
Honestly, Josh, it's like, you being in love with somebody and you see them copping off with somebody else. Like, you're just there going, like, I still love them, but they're just hurting me at this point. It's not. It's difficult to know where to go.
Have you ever felt like that before?
No, because that doesn't happen. I just, back winners. But I'm sure they'll go to the Boyne hurdle next or something like that. But it's very hard. The one thing I know for a certain, though, is the one day I jump ship, he'll put his head down.
No, but I think you need to let him go, in the sense of if he goes and wins,
I'll be distraught.
Yeah. No, the issue that I think I think that you probably find yourself in is he runs really well. For instance, that race at Leopardstown, he travelled into the race supremely well. Therefore, next time out, you go, if he's going to come on fitness-wise, that might just do it. And then he turns up and he's 10-1 in what looked an ordinary race. So then you go, well...
And he goes off 5-1.
This just makes lots of sense.
Yeah.
But he's just not very good.
No, he just doesn't want to win these races. Now, if you drop, I don't know, but it's very difficult off the mark he's on. You'd almost have to be fiddling around with him, I think, get him down a few more pounds. But, they're not going to do that. They're going to campaign him in these races. He's never going to win a Stayers hurdle. He's never going to come close to winning a Stayers hurdle. Could I see him running like Buddy One did in last year's Stayers hurdle? Yes.
Okay.
A horse that, at 2, on the new course at Cheltenham, 2 out is 6 furlongs from home, pretty much. And, you're thinking, this thing's actually going all right, Mm-hmm. And then on the long run to the last, 2 or 3 horses that are a bit braver and a bit more resolute will just go by him. Yeah. And he'll come forth.
Okay.
But if I'm getting my 66-1 4 places on the day, you better believe I'll be there.
I can absolutely imagine. Right, talk to me about Cade de Bourbon.
Yeah, he's a slow burner. I think they're going to have to run him in the Brown Advisory because he's not going to get the runs into running a handicap. I thought the horse to take from the race was Chapeau de Soleil. I've been quite impressed with him over fences thus far. He jumps well. I think he's that horse that will win the 2 mile 5 novice handicap at Punchestown, and I think he'll absolutely dot in that race.
Really?
Yeah. Well, he won at the Punchestown Festival last year. They're riding him they're kind of running him as if he's going to run in a handicap at the end of the season. He's a nice horse. Cade de Bourbon is also a nice horse. A bit slow though.
Castle Carrick.
Yeah,
went to Sandown and beat your Diva Luna.
Yeah, Diva Luna backed at 14s, now readily available at 33s, and the French horse is in a box. So it's not looking good, but I thought actually, jokes aside, this horse did it quite well. Obviously, at Sandown, sometimes form can be put up to question, but he travelled through the race nice. He was a 15-length winner for Nicky Richards, sold for 100 grand, won easy. No limit to his progression at the moment.
Jaguar over at Cheltenham in the first race, the novice handicap chase. That race often produces
good horses.
Good horses, yeah.
Yeah, it does, and usually a pointer to to the festival, whether that be in a plate or a novice handicap. He won with a stack in hand.
He did.
Jaguar, despite him being a bit of a drifter, they seem to want to be on the other horse for the yard, Billy the Real Big Red, who ran a pretty solid race. I thought Jaguar did it pretty fair, though. And you couldn't...
He'll probably run in the novice handicap chase.
Yeah, you couldn't throw him out of the frame at the moment. You know, if he's going to run like that, I was a little bit concerned, would he really have the street smarts and maybe the jumping kind of credentials for Cheltenham? He's proved me wrong.
I thought Masaccio was eye-catching in third. Carrying top weight, I thought he ran really, really nicely, stayed on well to the line, and I think the plan is to go to the Ultima. I spoke to Ella McNeil today, and she said that the plan was to go up and trip, given her father's connections with the race and sponsoring the Ultima. But if it was to be really soft, then they go to the 2.5 mile novice handicap chase. But Masaccio up and trip, especially off a mark of, say, 1.43, if he was to be around that, he'd be competitive up to 3.
Yeah, you've always had a bit of a soft spot for this horse.
Yeah.
He's not a bad horse.
He's not a bad horse. Runs probably a bit too honestly, though.
Yeah.
If he was off high 130s, I'd really quite fancy him in Ultima. Yeah. But that race is also going to be strong. You're going to have a Peaky Boy and a horse who I'll get onto later. I think will also have a decent chance in that one as well. Also Highland, if they were to go there, he'd be fascinating. We've touched on East India Dock. Did we take anything else out from the race? Is Stencil a Buda's horse?
No. He'll be too high in the handicap.
Moon d'Orange.
Oh, Jesus. How did this horse win?
Sean Bowen, that's how he won.
Lord above. Like, I've backed Moon d'Orange a couple of times this year and was kind of coming round to the feeling that he was a little bit tripless, a little bit slow, maybe didn't want to win that much, and they did ride him differently. Now, I don't know whether the horse wasn't taking Sean Bowen anywhere for the first half of the race, but my God, he does things that other jockeys cannot do. Because
he's just so
99% of the jockeys in the weigh room would have either pulled up or have just got that horse nowhere close. They'd have tried to rush him into the race earlier. He just sat pretty. And I think he probably gets a little bit of a hard time of things because he's so strong in the finish that people think he's almost a very like workman-like kind of bustler of a jockey. But actually, you do see week in, week out on those horses that need a bit of time. He's very happy to just let them pop away, and he'll come with his customary late run. I don't know how the horse won, but he did.
He did. He's got, I'm not saying McCoy, but he's got that kind of never give up and also getting horses that shouldn't be winning.
Yeah. Oh no, it was a real. It was something else really.
L'Homme Pressé.
Yeah, good stage star, ran well. He runs well fresh. I think he's going to go straight to the bowl now, Paul Nicholls said. Other than that, though, hard to assess the race. Gentleman's Game was never really going with any type of zest.
No, I would have been very disappointed if L'Homme Pressé couldn't have beaten that field. Yeah.
And he won pretty cosy. I don't think Charlie Deutsch really had gone for everything. He goes to the Gold Cup. They'll feel they're vindicated for doing that based on him winning this race. He's got a chance of running well in the Gold Cup, but I don't see how he can run any better than he did last year.
No, I completely agree with you. Constitution Hill beat Brentford Hope by 3 or 4 lengths, but that doesn't really tell the full story, does it?
No, you wouldn't have mind seeing Nicky Anderson's heart monitor go down to the last.
I tell you what, though, he is just so good.
He's so lovely to watch.
He was just lobbing along, having a merry time in front. I don't even think he came out of second gear.
No. I don't think we learned anything other than the fact that the horse is still kind of well, which is great, and that he's managed to string kind of 2 runs together in the space of a month. Also good omens for him getting to March in good health. Nico probably got a little bit carried away and maybe was looking for a jump at the last for the photos, but it didn't happen. Horse was very clever. An awful lot of horses would have picked up and probably dived at it. He was clever. He's a lovely horse to watch. I think if you don't like watching him or if you're a bit snippy about him, you can go off and watch something else.
It looks like we're going to get a really good field this weekend in the Dublin Racing Festival. But I tell you what, even Brighter Days Ahead, who was so impressive on her last start, they're going to have to go some to get near him, aren't they? They are. And
I think if Brighter Days Ahead does run in the champion hurdle, which I'm not convinced whether she will or not, but if she does, like they're going to have to try do what they did with at Leopardstown at Christmas time, King of Kingsfield go out and just make it something a bit
I told you
different.
King of Kingsfield would be a top horse running in champion hurdles.
I know, exactly. Good old Bullet Train was a good horse, but unfortunately he seems a bit of a sacrificial lamb at the moment. But I suppose that's the one thing that they're going to have to try and do, and maybe a strong pace and stuff like that. The thing with Constitution Hill is, I feel in other races they've gone strong paces, and almost the stronger they go, the
more it
better
suits him.
he is.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Neither do I. Fascinating race. Cannot wait for this weekend. Gowral Road finally won a race. What a horse he is, by the way. What a horse. I'd absolutely love to own that horse. I think he's one of those horses in this country especially that I'd love to own. Purely because so gritty, probably doesn't have the talent of a lot of the horses that he's running against even, but just so hearty, goes from the front, jumps really well, battles up the straight. If you come and pass me, great, I'll finish second. If not, I'm going to go and win the race. And he finally gets his day. Brilliant.
Yeah, no, he was good. It was a race that I think only had 6 runners, and for my money, I think 4 of them didn't like the track. So, like Monmoraz obviously won a Pertemps. He ran a pretty nice race. He might go back to a Pertemps, I don't know. Gallroad's, he's excellent. Like, he's the type of horse, like, they're going to run him in a Stayers hurdle. He's got no chance of winning a Stayers hurdle, but he's got every chance of finishing third.
Yeah, I need to talk about one down the field, Transmission.
Yeah. He'll go for the National and Chase, will he not?
Well, he will, won't he?
Yeah.
And he'd have a chance.
He ran a nice enough race, yeah. And Neil Mulholland's done this plenty of times before. He did it, I think, with Lord Accord a couple of years ago. He's done it. I think he did it with the Druid's nephew before running in the Ultima, where he runs the horse over hurdles a month before.
Yeah.
And he's a progressive horse.
Does he need 3 runs or 4 over fences?
He needs 3 because it's a novice race.
Right, but even if he didn't, I think he would qualify for the Ultima as well, and the Kinmure, because he had a run back in Ireland at Kilbeggan on the 14th of July 2023 over fences.
Okay, so he's had the 4.
So he's had the 4, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's...
Which means that he's definitely going to be on watch. I think his mark is 133.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they just... I have the National and Chase in my mind just because I think they mentioned it at one stage. But
wherever he goes, he'd have a chance.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, he's a nice horse.
And absolutely loves Cheltenham as well. All 4 runs this season there have been very, very, very good. Right, I suppose I didn't see this coming. Potter's Charm beaten by 6 Mile Bridge. Fergal O'Brien goes and ruins the Twiston Davies party.
I'm sure there was words exchanged there.
What on earth?
You're
I know people behind the camera here who have backed Potter's Charm won't want to hear this, and they'll be going, "Oh, lads, come on, after timing." But we've had these conversations before. They should have kept that horse fresh for Cheltenham.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's completely ruined any chance he had at the festival. I was actually warming to the fact that he had a good chance in the Turners, but. Look, I don't mind the way Twiston Davis and the team campaign their horses. There's a lot of people out there that run their horses twice a year, and that's no good for racing either. These guys turn up every time. They run in all these big races, and there's prize money to win. I get all of that. But this was just a case, whether they like it or not, of them being greedy. Like the horse, they wrote it off after the form beat, where he had a hard race, and said, straight to the festival, get him freshened up, and they just couldn't help themselves.
No.
They're like a kid with his sweets in front of them, and they just delved in again, and they've got their hand caught in the cookie jar.
I think that's completely ruined his festival chances.
He is... Like, I saw Ash, who obviously loves the horse, and he put up a tweet saying, that they, it had been a second it'd been a plan that they hadn't thought of that much, and that it will definitely be better for the festival. And I just said, I really like the horse. But he's got absolutely no hope in that turn.
I think they really, really ruined his chances. I think if he was to turn up there fresh in the form that he was in at Cheltenham before, which I think he could have been after 3 months off, he'd have been a fascinating prospect in what would be a competitive 2.5 mile novice hurdle without having a real standout contender.
Yeah.
And he'd have had a right chance. But after that, they've got a shorter time to get him back there.
And he had a hard race.
Yeah.
And got stuffed.
Yeah.
By a horse who's a nice horse, nice prospect going forward, but no more than a 130 horse.
He won't be winning a Ballymore, will he? No. So there you go. I mean, they did something similar with Broadway Boy last year. I think the slight different thing with Broadway Boy last year is they should never have ran him at Warwick, and they did say they're going to go straight to the festival, but they also ran him top weight in a handicap at Cheltenham on the start. So they're sending those horses.
I suppose what
they're asking for so much
in my mind is you have a situation like Broadway Boy, and now I know 3 mile chases are different to 2.5 mile hurdle races and stuff like that, but would you not have seen that and then thought, Potter's Charm, their best horse this year, maybe let's not make the same mistake? Straight hand into the jar.
Yeah, no, I agree. And because they have their horses ready for the start of the season, they always start the season well. They're always a little bit further than everyone else's horses. It just, at some point, and I completely understand what you said before as well. Like, if you've got horses, you should run them. I completely agree with that. But you can't then be disappointed if you don't win anything at the festival.
Yeah.
I think you should run your good horses. But if you have a very, very good one, I think you should campaign it like a very, very good horse. And Potter's Charm had won his Grade 1. He's won 2 Grade 2s before that. He should have just gone. Did he win 2 Grade 2s or was it 1 Grade 2? I don't know. He won a Grade 2 before that. You don't step down to a Grade 2 after you win a Grade 1. And you've got
with a penalty. But the thing is, like, if you'd just gone straight to Cheltenham and maybe even run well, you still have the option of going to Aintree. And then, like, if he'd ran at Cheltenham and Aintree, it's still a 6-race season. Like, it's not like they're putting this horse under wraps. It confused me. I was disappointed because I liked the horse. I wanted him to win, and unfortunately he didn't win, and now he's got no chance.
Right, we're going to rattle through the next ones because we've been spending far too long on this. Aurora Vega, Mare's Novice Hurdle or not?
I think they might keep her for Fairy House. I'm not sure. They might end up running in the Mare's Novice Hurdle. She's a nice mare. I didn't think it was a very deep field. I think she'd have it to find.
I love the name of the next one. Cowabunga. How good's that? He was good as well, beating William Money.
He was, yeah. Cocktail Devan was another one of De Bromhead's horses that's been underperforming. 2 of them came miles clear. Smart horse, and they seem kind of one of those ones that's like a lurker, where they kind of seem quite confident on the horse, but he's going to go off probably double figures for some race.
I think he's a really, really nice horse. I do actually think he's possibly a Grade 1 novice as well. I think he's really smart. Answer to Cave and then Novice Handicap Chase, absolutely gagged up, but he'll probably go to the Novice Handicap Chase next.
Potentially, but they've ruined his mark, for a tiny pot. A $9,000 to the winner mark. He's gone up £12.
Ouch.
Irish rating of 142. Like, I kind of despair, but like he needs soft to heavy ground. He's a lovely horse, liked him all last year, ran a good race in the Martin Pipe, so handles the track. If it was heavy ground at the festival, he'd have a chance. He'd need heavy ground though.
At the start of the season, when we had our French chat with Adam Mills, he said Charles was a horse that we should keep an eye on. He went and won on his first start. Wasn't absolutely amazing. Had to tough it out, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, but that Nace ground was tough, and it was going to be very hard to look very good. I think the William Durkin horse in Second Hen C is probably not a bad horse, or Holy See, should I say. And yeah, he was workmanlike. I wouldn't say he's a Grade 1 horse or anything, but he's nice.
Amsterdam.
Yeah, we didn't really learn much. I suspect he's had more competitive gallops at home.
He's very athletic.
Yeah, he's a nice horse.
He's a very nice horse, isn't he?
Yeah.
But I don't think he's going to go to the Champion Hurdle. I listening to that Willie Mullins interview after racing, I got the feeling that they were going to save him for Aintree and he's going to go softly with him.
Yeah, it's not Willie Mullins' real MO to run 2 or 3 horses that he really fancies in the same race. You've said it before about like champion bumpers and stuff.
Yeah.
He usually runs 5 or 6 when he's actually not that sure.
Yeah.
Like,
but he's not going to run Lossy, State Man and Amsterdam.
No.
Because
they all could get beat.
Exactly. If they all get absolutely stuffed, then there's no dreams next year.
No. I can see that. I would be surprised if he turned up.
I think they'll keep him. They'll keep him as the exciting one next year.
I think the only reason he'll run in the Champion Hurdle if his State Man runs another ordinary race.
Possibly,
at the DRF.
Possibly.
And therefore doesn't go to jail.
In the same silks, Dancing City.
Yeah, a horse I've come full circle on. Wasn't keen on him last year at all.
He's a really nice horse, isn't he?
He's really nice. He's a bit slow and he only does what he has to do, but he jumps well. He finds for pressure. And I don't think we've even got half to the bottom of him.
No, I agree. Last year, at this stage of the season, he hadn't won a Grade 1. He finished the season on 3.
Yeah. So he's a horse that gets better as the season
goes. He didn't go to Cheltenham. Did he?
No, he came third in the Bartlett.
Third in the Bartlett, yeah.
Yeah, but he was probably a little bit unfurnished for that. he's just a really nice horse. And just the way that the Brown Advisory often is, it usually turns into a slog.
It does, and it's going to have more runners this year as well, which means it's going to be competitive, quick runners as well. I think Imperi Pass might run. I think Ballyburn may run. We're going to see a few others. Champ Kylie might go and run.
Jukebox Man's in there.
Jukebox Man. It's going to be a proper race.
Key to Bourbon. Like this is where
better days ahead.
This is where it's good. Like people will give out about the turners being taken out and stuff like that, but you're going to have a really, really good Brown Advisor.
It's going to be brilliant, but you're going to have to stay.
Yeah.
Ballyburn is going to have to stay 3.5 miles to go and win that race. It'll be fascinating. Right. Today we had 2. Carbo.
Yeah, it was impressive. Came on plenty for Nace. People are going to probably back him for Cheltenham Festival races. It wouldn't be for me now. I think there's been better races out there.
Maureen.
Yeah, scandalous price now. I think 7-4 for the Mayor's Novice.
Is she Maureen the Machine?
No. She's very good, though. Okay. I thought she was good. I think people are probably being overly snippy because of the price. I thought she did it as well as she probably could have done, but she's a ridiculous price.
Right. That was our breakdown. Well done, mate. High five. Good work. Right. Now let's move on to the Dublin Racing Festival preview. The best weekend in the racing calendar, in my eyes.
Absolutely superb.
Absolutely superb. Well, let's start on the Saturday. We're going to go through the Grade 1 races. The Nathaniel Lacey comes first, the 2 mile 6, Novices Hurdle, and a horse I love is at the top of the market, 7-4. Now, I think that is a short price for what he's done. He's only won a Limerick maiden hurdle, but he did it very well. I think 7-4 is short. I didn't expect him to be that short, but maybe with a Willie Mullins favourite, Paul Townend's probably going to ride. I can understand it. I would rather back him for Cheltenham than back him at 7-4.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair.
Because I think he's 8-1 for a Turner's Novice Hurdle, and he's 8-1 for a Bartlett. I think he's 10-1 for a Turner's and 8-1 for a Bartlett.
Yeah, it seems that people think he's going to go up in trip, like maybe just because he's running in the 2.6, and they're more likely to have speedier horses maybe for the 2.5.
I'm not so sure about that. I think he could stay to 2.5.
Yeah, very easily could. It's not a race I'd have a massive opinion on, to be honest, because I wouldn't be in a mad rush to back him because I do think he's short, but I'm also not in any real rush to take him on.
No, neither.
I'm not sure that the other horses are that brilliant.
I hope he goes and wins. I think the one that is overpriced if he runs is I Am Lorenzo.
I think he will run.
You think he will?
Yeah.
Even though he's a maiden over hurdle?
Just all we need is this horse to run in this race, and then the 2 mile Grade 3 Novice Hurdle at Nace on the 27th of February, and then run him in the Martin Pipe. And I'd absolutely be all over him.
I Am Lorenzo. He ran a brilliant race behind the Enabler.
He did.
20-1. Could he run well here and then go to Nace over 2?
Yeah, I want him to run well. I don't want him to be out the back of the telly, but I don't want to run him too well. There's going to be a day, whether it's the Martin Pipe or Cheltenham or whatever, there's going to be a day this year this horse is going to absolutely bolt it.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. The following race is the Grade 1 2 mile Juvenile Hurdle. And I worked a bit last week with Ruby Walsh on Road to Cheltenham, and more of the behind-the-scenes stuff, was producing it. And the general feel I got from speaking to him is that St. Lucie wasn't doing anything special in the yard. I think she shocked them.
Okay.
I think Rich Ritchie and Joe Chambers were excited by her, but I don't think they expected that. And I still don't think she does necessarily lots of good work at home. He really, really liked that Lady Vega Allen. But I would much rather back St. Lucie of what we've seen.
Yeah, no, that would be the same for me. I'd be taking that ahead of the Grade 2 form. I suppose, though, it's a little bit like Storm Heart against Cargees last year. You had a horse that got beaten in the Grade 2 at Leopardstown against a horse that just had won a maiden hurdle. I thought St. Lucie was one of the better bets of the whole weekend, to be honest.
Okay, interesting. The Irish Arkle then comes next. Magborough, form has taken a bit of a hit.
It has, yeah, but he still should win.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just not convinced that El Atlantique is still up to the Magborough quality, because the juvenile form from last year was much better than the novice hurdle form. Almost all of those novices, especially, in fact, all of them have been beaten other than Dancing City. But then again, I do think El Atlantique has improved massively for chasing. So I don't know.
Does he not just need heavy ground, though? And
yeah.
Leopardstown chase course is the furthest place he's going to get heavy ground from.
Madgeborough hopefully goes and wins the Irish Gold Cup Galopin des Champs.
I believe so.
There we go, 2 mics on that one. So Galopin des Champs and how do you ride against him? How do you change it up?
Well, like based off what Ruby was telling us at Christmas time, he'd have Mark Walsh almost sitting last.
Yeah. But is Galopin not going to be away and gone by that point?
I'd argue that there's a more chance of you going potentially trying to go out in front and trying to get him to settle from the front. I doubt they'll do that because I doubt they'll try to get into a war with Galopin, but I don't think sitting dead last is the answer.
No.
Ruby, though, therefore, does know an awful lot more about riding races than I do.
Ruby knows nothing. 3 other races on that day: the Grade 2 bumper, the 3-mile handicap hurdle, and the 2-mile 1 furlong handicap chase. Is there anything that you fancy?
Yeah, the Grade 2 bumper doesn't inspire me, to be honest. The handicap hurdle, I've got one for the best bets later on.
What do you make of In the Pocket in the handicap chase?
Yeah, you'd have to carry a lot of weight.
Is he Grand Annual or Novice handicap chase bound?
Maybe, but geez, the way he ran at Nace the last day, I wouldn't be backing him for anything.
Okay.
And the way the Bromheads are running at the moment, I wouldn't back him for anything. I suppose the interesting thing with the 2-mile handicap chase is when are they pulling the trigger on Nürburgring? Because he's gone in as favourite for this race. I'd have thought they were going to give him. I'd have thought it might be in Tukas-esque. That they'll run him, potentially from the front, and he then gets beaten 4 or 5 lengths, and they'll run him in either the novice handicap or the Grand Annual.
Nürburgring could be a Cheltenham Festival winner in waiting. Sunday, we move on to the 2-mile 5 furlong novices chase, where Fat Tafal beat Gaelic Warrior last year. Is it going to be a similar story? Maybe with a short price, Willie Mullins Hot Pot being beaten by a stablemate. I quite fancy Champ Kylie to beat Ballyburn. Now, I know that might be a bit brave, but I'm just not convinced about Ballyburn anymore. I've completely gone off him. We even spoke about him in a column after the run at Kempton, and I said no, up and trip. He's much more of a stayer. I just worry with him that he's not going to be a thorough stayer, and therefore I can't see him winning a Brown Advisory because I think you're going to have to really stay to go and win that. And here, I know it's almost ideal conditions, but I was really impressed with Champ Kylie. He's a bit older, yes, a bit fragile, but I was more impressed with his chasing debut than I have been with Ballyburn over fences this season. Yeah,
look, I've been, I've had my issues with Ballyburn this year. I wouldn't be in a mad rush to be. He's obviously a very, very short price for this. I can see the case of trying to take him on. I suppose I've come round to the conclusion, just maybe looking at the strength and depth of this race, that he will win on Sunday. He will shorten up massively for the Brown Advisory as a result, and I will be taking him on with, whether that be Dancing City, whether that be the Jukebox Man. I'd actually fancy both of them to beat him.
Yeah, fascinating. Why?
I'm just not convinced, and we've just seen it with Ballymore or Turner's or Gallagher or whatever the 2.5 mile race is before. We've had horses go to that race, look invincible at the time, and he was invincible at the time, but he beat Jimmy Desoy. Like, good old Xander Clegane could beat Jimmy.
Well, steady. Moving on to the Grade 1 2-mile Tattersalls Island Novices Hurdle, and I really fancy Copec de Board here if he gets his jumping together, and if Romeo Coolio doesn't run. Do we think he will?
I don't think Romeo Coolio will run.
So you know what that is? This is a message to the Twist and Davies. That's a trainer who said at Christmas, I think we're probably going to go to the festival.
We've won our Grade 1.
Yeah. And we're going to go there.
I don't see what they gain from running here. Like, other than, obviously there's big prize money, and again, I don't want to deter people from never running, but the horses ran 3 times. It won very comfortably at Christmas time. He seems to go well fresh. I think there's a lot to like to go straight there. I'd agree with you on Copec de Board.
Whoa. I thought you were going to come in strong on Kate Dorhey.
I was going. I
thought we were going to have a battle.
Yeah, I like Kate Doughty. Don't get me wrong.
I've got the bulletproof vest on under here.
But we've got Cowabunga coming second to Copec de Board, winning.
Yeah.
Cocktail Devan beating a nose by Kate Doughty, coming third, beating 25 lengths. I just think the way they talk about Copec de Board, they believe that if he jumps well, he'll win.
I agree. It's going to be fascinating to see if that does happen, where he goes at the festival, because I don't think it's a certainty that he runs over 2 at a Supreme. But again, I'm not sure it's a certainty he goes up and trip.
Yep, I can see that.
He's fascinating. He's just a horse I really want to get stuck into for the festival, and I have backed him anti-post for the 2.5 mile race, so I hope he goes there, but I'm not convinced he will.
No, I think I'd be saying at 75-25 in favour of the 2.5 at the moment.
Possibly. That's only because I think they want
Salvatore Mundi to be the supreme horse.
They do. The next race is the Dublin Chase, where Gaelic Warrior is a short price, and is he going to win?
I think so.
Just, do you want to just say it?
Is there a world?
Wait. Is that the right?
I believe that might be the tune.
Okay, right. Whoa.
Is there a
Here we
world
go.
he cannot go very close in this race?
Marine and Sean Flanagan.
But like,
Sorry, Mikey.
he's clearly going to like the ground more. He's clearly an inferior horse to Gaelic Warrior. I think Gaelic Warrior is the better horse. I think he will win. But you'd have to have concerns. Gaelic Warrior's been to Leopardstown a couple of times on the chase track, maybe underperformed a little bit. He does want softer ground than he's going to get. I don't know.
Sandor Nacional. We start the process here.
Learn, improve. We go back to the well. I wouldn't be majorly confident. I just think Marine will run well.
Yeah.
I'd be shocked if Gaelic Warrior was to be beat.
In the Irish Champion Hurdle, I don't think we're going to get Brighter Days Ahead.
No, I think the two Mullins horses will run against
I
each
think
other.
they both will, yeah. So Lossiemouth versus State Man. Where do you sit on that?
I think at the moment you'd have to sit with Lossiemouth.
I agree, yeah. Who do you think Paul's going to ride?
I think he'll ride Lossiemouth.
Okay, does that mean Patrick on State Man?
Yeah. And like, Patrick's a perfectly, good rider.
It hurts you, that, doesn't it?
But like, he just shouldn't be on a horse like State Man.
No, maybe not. Who's going to win?
I think Lossiemouth.
I think they'll go aggressive on Lossiemouth. I think they'll ride her forward. And I think she'll have a bit too much, especially with
That being
£7.
said, if State Man was to win, I'd be giving it plenty. But
Oh, I'm sure.
it probably hurts a little bit to say, but you couldn't back State Man after Christmas time. And Lossiemouth, she ran pretty well considering she wasn't going a yard.
Right, now we've got 4 other races on that card. The 2 mile 2 mares handicap hurdle, the 2 mile 5 handicap chase, the 2 mile handicap hurdle, and a grade 2 mares bumper. Anything that you fancy?
Yeah, a couple in the best bets. One that isn't in the best bets that I'm certainly monitoring is a horse that you've backed last time, Queen's Gamble.
Yep.
For the mares handicap hurdle, it seems to be a long-term plan by
Yep.
Harry Durham. And Qualamita is favourite for that race. I know she's well handicapped, potentially, but she is also a mule.
Is this the race that Queen's Gamble's going to run in?
I believe so.
Okay. Well, then, she was in my best bets before.
Okay, but for the
I just-
2 mile handicap.
Sorry, yeah. Well, the 2 mile 2 mares handicap.
Yes.
But I was thinking Betfair Hurdle, is she entered?
Oh, I think they're coming over here. Though.
Definitely.
I think so. Yeah.
Right. Well, that's very interesting. Queen's Gamble is in my best bets. We may as well start them here. I just think that Harry Durham went over to Ferryhouse one day this season with a horse called Washington, and
How did he get it to win a 50 grand?
my goodness me, he was very impressive. I think she is a horse who will improve for that first run. I thought she was unlucky to get beat on her first start at Newbury in the Jerry Field, and I think that she will come on for that massively. I think she's still well handicapped, and I think that they're not going to make the trip if she's not going to 100% be off. And there are a few in that race that I'm just not 100% sure that they will be. I also think Qualamita, being a 5-1 favourite, hasn't hit the line hard in any race she's been in. And that would be a massive concern. She travels into a race very well. She seems to find when asked, but it's almost just like the last 100 metres she goes, not for me.
Yeah. That's quite like a horse that we discussed at length.
Yeah, Sandor Qualamita. And then, other than that, I am going to put in Final Demand.
Yep.
I think 7-4 is short, but I think he will go and win. And then I'm also going to put in Green Splendor in the bumper. 4-1 Mullins bumper horse, won at Christmas, to beat Calypso's Chance, the Gordon Elliott horse. I'm just not convinced about him.
No.
I'm really not. I'm not convinced about that form. I'd actually rather back He Can't Dance than Calypso's Chance in the same race. Calypso's Chance will be first choice, but I'm just not 100% convinced. I know Patrick rode him last time, but I just do not understand. For me, Harry Swan would have definitely had the choice.
Yeah.
And he didn't pick him. They're not that impressed by him. relatively cheap purchase, and that can happen. But I think this might be possibly a step too far. And then I'm going to put Champ Kylie to beat Ballyburn in at 4-1. I just think that it's his trip.
Yep.
I was mightily impressed with his chasing debut.
Yep.
And I do think Ballyburn's got fragilities, and he's got a bit to prove after that run behind Segino.
Yep.
Not sure it's an ideal prep for a race like this. 2 miles, right-handed, sharp track. I know it's not his deal, but that might leave a bit of scarring. Whether I think Champ Kylie was very good.
Yeah, I quite like the 4 of them. Hopefully a couple of winners in there. I've got 5. One being in the juvenile. I'm going to put St. Lucie in,
right.
Probably as the banker of the 5 of them.
Yeah.
To be honest, there's a few at bigger prices. 3 mile handicap hurdle used to be the William Fry. I think it's got a new sponsor now. Parker Kings at 14-1. Was 5th in the race last year. I think you'll get a very good run for your money at a decent enough price there. And on the Sunday, the 2 mile handicap hurdle. Brave Troop is 8-1 for this race, 8-1 for the Betfair hurdle.
I love Bunting in that if it was to run. If the Burns horse wasn't to run.
Yeah, exactly. He's been bought by Paul Byrne since his last run. He's hacked up in 2 runs for the yard. I reckon this is one where he might win whatever race he's going to, and then suddenly we'll see him in a county hurdle, and good old JP will have bought him. I think it'll be one of those sort of jobs. I think he's still got room to go of 125. So him at 8-1. The Mayor's Bumper. I'm going to back Amen Kate.
Okay.
I'm going to take on Future Prospect, which might be a ballsy thing to do, but was so impressed with Amen Kate. And they said, what I quite liked is they said almost 10 minutes after it won down at Listowel, this horse is running in the Mayor's Bumper at the Dublin Racing Festival. So it has been the plan. There's no kind of reason why she's been off. She'd be carried more on a spruce by 10 lengths that day. She's obviously enhanced the form very much since. She's 11-2. And then the nap comes in the 2 mile 5 handicap chase, back to normal for Gavin Cromwell, 10-1. Of mark of 130, won the big auction hurdle at Punchestown last year on first start for the yard. 3 nondescript runs in beginners' chases this year over 2 miles, goes back up to 2.5 miles, likes decent ground. Yard would have won the race last year with Percival Galway if he hadn't fallen at the last. I think they're going to pull the trigger here. 10-1 looks a fair price to me.
You make a compelling case. That is our Cheltenham Trials review. Dublin Racing Festival preview extravaganza. If you see Andrew there this weekend, do go and say hello. We hope you have enjoyed that video. If you have, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We've hit 20,000 of them. The next target is clearly 30, so we're going to go and try and do that. But until then, I hope you have a very profitable weekend. Have a wonderful time if you're going, and we'll see you next week.